I'm going to demonstrate how to do lineup card management for a high school game. This is one way to do it, and you just have to make sure that when you are doing this, if somebody would have to take over for your job as a plate umpire, they would be able to understand what was going on. First of all, coach would hand this card to you at the plate conference. You would need to check to make sure that all of the positions are listed. If they're using the DP flex, the flex would be listed in the 10 spot, and the DP could be anywhere in the lineup, and that they would be listed. You also need to check to make sure that you have numbers, and they're all different. You give the card back to the coach, and then the coach would, they would then be official. Our first substitution, we're just going to show you how to do a straight substitution. In this situation, the coach would come up and say, I'm going to have number 5. Okay, number 5 is a listed sub, and number 5 is going to go in for number 3 in the 2 spot. 5 for 3 in the 2 spot. You would let the other coach know, bookkeeper know, and then we would have that substitution. Now 3 is no longer in the game, and so circling number 3 would mean that she has changed her status. She is no longer playing. She has changed her status, and she is now on the bench. Our next sub, we're going to have our flex is going to come and run for the DP. DP gets on base. Flex running for the DP in the 5 spot. So we're just going to put an X here. Some people actually put the number, but we're going to put an X. And because we have the flex playing offense for the DP, our DP, starting DP, is no longer in the game, so we circle her. She is now on the bench. Inning is over. Our DP returns. So now DP comes in. Flex goes back. Nothing has changed here. She's still playing defense. But 19 is back in the game. Now we're going to have a pitching change. Our starter is the flex, and she's been pitching. We're going to have number 14 is going to be the new pitcher. So we write down pitcher. Because she's not playing defense, our flex is out of the game. So we're going to need a left fielder so our DP can go in as the left fielder. You don't necessarily have to write that down, but because the DP can play any position as long as she's not playing defense for the flex. So our flex is out of the game, and now number 14 struggles. So we want to put our flex back into pitch. So now we just cross off the pitcher because 14 can no longer be courtesy run for. But we're going to courtesy run for our catcher. Catcher's in the 2nd spot, number 22. So courtesy, or 13 is going to courtesy run for the catcher. Courtesy runner, catcher. At this point, that's all you have to do. Because 22 hasn't left the game, she's being courtesy run for. We also have to write down our defensive and offensive conferences. At the beginning of the game, I will write defense, conference, offense, conference. And if there's a defensive conference in the 3rd inning, just write down a 3. Offensive conference in the 4th inning, just write down a 4. So now we're going to have, let's say that we're going to put in a new catcher. Okay, we're going to switch and have a new catcher. Now you need to write that down because that's who's going to be able to be courtesy run for. Let's say the first baseman becomes the new catcher. And we're going to put first baseman here. Now if number 7 gets on base, number 13 can courtesy run for her. You don't have to write anything down for that. You just say courtesy runner for the catcher, number 13. It's a different kid, but it goes with the position. Now, another thing that you would have to write down is you would have to write down any warnings. In high school, let's say the JV game ends and the coach wants to add a JV player to their roster. So let's say JV player number 34 comes in. She is now an eligible sub, but we need to give a warning to the head coach in the States, the 6th inning. One other thing that we may need to do is, let's say that we want to have our designated player play defense for the flex. She's already been out of the game once, but if our designated player comes in, is playing defense for the flex, number 8 has been out of the game twice, and she is no longer eligible to come back in. You can use the but we have shrunk to 9 because we have an uncircled X, and our DP is now the new pitcher. And you can write down, 14 can go back to play left field. So we've got a pitcher and a catcher. Those are the only positions that we really need to write down. So those are all the things that you could have, and if you just take it step by step, use a bright colored marker so you know what you've written down, and write down all your changes. If somebody had to replace you as a plate umpire, let's say it's a suspended game and you can't do it, you would give that lineup, and then your replacement could figure out who's in the game. We know here that 8 is no longer eligible to play. We know that we have uncircled. And so we have the DP is playing defense for the flex. So we're at 9 players that are playing right now. And we have uncircled numbers in every one of the positions. And we would know, the new plate umpire would know where they're coming from.